But all right. Um, the first thing I want this actually, I'll start with your book club question. Do you want to ask it, Vince, or do you want me to?
You can ask him because the dog don't care about me. So
All right. All right. I need y'all in the chat answer too, and we'll talk. But how do you guys feel about stories or narratives? It doesn't matter what medium. I don't care about the medium. That start with a flashback or is heavily reliant on flashbacks and backstories to explain events.
A little something like eeny, meeny, right from the beginning. Smoke a little pack, but the pack never timid. Church, but I'm seeing it. Curse when I'm winning. She need a new back when it's back, I'ma bend it. Slap up some guinea, pass me the henny. Watch a nigga black slipper yak, I'ma quit it. Swerve in the Benzie, perfume is Fendi. Bob and move fast, real fast like I'm Ricky. That's cause I'm pretty, came from the dirt. Shovel up a nigga, can't handle the work. Ooh, y'all, swing with it first. Young white girl like a rambo.
I pick Simi. I pick you.
Me. Um. Well, start with a flashback. I don't find heavily reliant on flashbacks. We good off that. Like, as then, I mean, everything has a formula, but once you get into the rhythm of, okay, this character about to die, flashback, here we go. Repeat type beat, that becomes numbing. And like, if every single like, okay, he about to get a fight, time for a flashback, I don't like it at all. Like, space out your flashback. Like, if you have a lot of backstory to tell and whatnot, they don't necessarily have to be a flashback. You could be through somebody else explaining or reading a passage or like the environment or whatever the fuck. But relying heavily on flashbacks, yeah, I'm not good on that. I don't think One Piece does that at all. By the way, see a lot of OP in the chat. I don't think One Piece does. I mean, there are flashbacks, yes, but reliant on them, no. And like, we don't always get them every single arc, at least not to my knowledge. So yeah, that's my opinion on that.
Yeah, I literally in the same camp with you in pure life. I don't care if you start with a flash. That's never gonna bother me. I don't care if you start the story with a flashback scene at all. But I don't like stories that rely too heavily on flashbacks. But I'm gonna add something. My biggest issue with the use of flashback and backstories from a personal standpoint, it's not necessarily it's a good or bad thing. It's just me, is I think it's very easy to write a story, not write a story, to kind of cover your ass with a lot of flashbacks and backstories, especially when you use it once a character is about to be done. So it's like, and here was his entire life's motivations right before he dies on the bleach. Like, bro, what? What is that? Like, I don't like that because I don't think you give the reader a fair chance to kind of like interpret that on their own, maybe beforehand. And I think it's more interesting to know what's really motivating characters before they go out or as it's happening, as opposed to after the fact. And speaking on Kishimoto, I do think it's a kind of brilliant that he just left like multiple huge gaps in time, and at any time he needed the flashback, he could just fill it with bullshit. Now I don't like that, but him and SIE do that a lot. And personally speaking, I don't think they do it well, but at the end of the day, a good flashback's a good flashback, no matter how much you're using it. But yeah, I'm not a fan of over relying on them. But if you start with one, there's not a problem with that.
Yeah, just like
right.
the.
Okay.
Oh, my fault. Go ahead,
Oh.
man.
No, go ahead. The dog barking anyway. Go ahead.
Because yeah, just like the whole, like, when you use the formula of the character's about to die, so here's a flashback, I am just super good off that. So it's there goes any sense of suspense or anticipation. It's just, okay, well, this nigga's about to die, so bye type B. It is, as you said, it's not organic. If I can naturally grow with the character and know what they doing and shit like that beforehand, and then they go, it's like, fuck. But if you just stay here and then right when they go on, they're like, okay, here was this nigga life from when he was born to now type beat, is we good.
Yeah. Go ahead, Vince.
I was saying, so basically the discussion came from that some people didn't like Cause like in movies they do that a lot, but like movies a little bit different from like manga, I guess. From how some people don't like it as like a narrative technique, I guess. Cause the manga we're reading is just like they start with the present day, and then the whole rest of the manga, in a way, is basically a flashback to how they got there.
Okay.
Yeah. So just to get more clarity on how
like
that
My
works.
Hero
Like, so
is a story of how Deku became
Yeah.
the #1 hero. This is all.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah,
all the past.
exactly.
Okay. That's different.
So how do you feel about that?
I don't have an issue with it at all.
I can't. I case by case. Because sometimes knowing the end result personally removes any kind of stake for me. Personally, it just depends though. It depends. Like sometimes the journey and the characters' journeys and interactions, subplots and stuff are interesting enough that even though I know how the central plot is gonna end, I'm still engaged. But there's a lot of times where I feel like the fact that I already have like the end point, or I know at some point we get to the scene, the final confrontation, everything else just feels like busy work. I'm trying to get there at this point. What's up, Coogan? I feel like almost doesn't count. I hear you. My stupid your image, by the way. Charlie Brown or Peanuts is literally my favorite cartoon, but it'll make sense later. We talk about the psychology stuff.
Can you give us some examples?
Young Vash.
Where y'all
What's up,
come
Slav?
from?
I mean, it's Slav. Wow, Slav vintage. Young Vash. But yeah, sorry. Did I cut someone off? Was I speaking?
Yeah.
No, you good.
Can you give us some examples of bad ones?
Me?
Yeah.
Let's think. Let me go through my fucking archives in my head. Okay, no, I could. Okay, so let's do. See, I want to use the way Vince kind of framed it though, where like the entire story is mostly working up to a point.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. No, I'm trying to find another example exactly like that, because I guess what I was really speaking about is stories aren't told in chronological order, like really like your Monogatari's and stuff, where it's like, oh, we skipped to Hannah, I know how this ends, well the rest of this is just kind of busy work. But obviously Nishio Ishin is such a good writer that I don't care, everything is gold, so I'm trying to see all of it. I really can't think of it off the top of my head, to be honest, but I heard it's your favorite. Wait, what? Calvin Hobbes is wrong. Calvin wrong. Live streaming again? Did I stop? Did I stop streaming? I don't think I stopped. I just stopped on YouTube. It's been a lot. What are we discussing? Right now we're discussing any story that starts. Wait. Vince, frame that again? I lost. I don't know.
Okay, my bad.
My hero.
So any story that starts with just like, this is the way that how I became the greatest hero. Just any story that starts from like the end of the manga and the whole rest of the manga is like, or even if you want to think about kind of like the first arc of Berserk starts with like the Black Swordsman, and then the whole second arc is basically how we got to the Black Sword, and then the story continues from there.
I don't know. I really wish I could think of an example, but the best way for me to explain it with me, because of the person that I am, I'm very spoiler sensitive. So it's like sometimes giving me too much of the future, it can ruin my journey. Because I think some people are okay with that, but again, I think it's an execution thing. I can't see I like it or don't like it. I'll think of an if I think of an example in my head, I'll bring it up to me. Because I'm trying to rack my brain for a comic book that's like that, but I don't know. I could think of moments where a comic book, like a new arc started, and it's like the final confrontation, and it's like, a week earlier. Like I could think of, but not the entire premise like that. I don't know why I can't think of any. So, yeah.
I think it is a technique that's used. That particular technique is used more in movies, it feels like, than it is in manga mediums. But other than that,
I watch
guess
movies, so I'm trash. So
yeah. So other than that, I was agreeing with an earlier point you made that I feel like a lot of I don't like when I feel like the mangaka is using flashbacks to shoehorn in information we should have had prior to the events that transpired. I don't like that as a technique. If flashbacks to try to gain some type of emotional connection to the reader, they don't always work, but more often than not, I don't have a problem with them, because at the end of the day, it's still kind of like, do you like the character or not? But trying to use flashbacks to shoehorn information from like a sensei or something like that, those are like really, really big hit or miss. It's just like you could have just shown me them training beforehand, and I prefer that than you trying to go back and trying to push this down. It don't work the same way. I don't care anymore.
Mm-hmm. Let me read the chat real quick. Sorry, a lot of good comments. Calvin Oz. I heard his mouth. He said it's my favorite author, Tagashi's birthday today. Hey, happy birthday, Tagashi. Get in the fucking lab and do some work. How do you feel about the climate spitter? With a few days between it. Okay, what do you guys feel about Tower of God though? Cause I don't know if I could I think maybe I confused rely with frequency. I don't think you have to have a lot of flashbacks to rely on it. I think you just need to rely on it as a crutch. Like I would say with Kubera, one thing I think Kurigama did a lot earlier was always use Lee's as like, oh, I don't remember. Like I felt like she relied on that a lot early. I don't know if you feel the same way, Vince. It's a nitpick.
That's what I'm saying.
It's a nitpick, but yeah.
I would say everybody kind of uses it differently. Like Tower of God, good example. Like especially season 3 or a little bit later down the road, he's like, oh, Bam's looking back to like who taught him this or whatever. But it's just like for a lot. Well, you and me probably would have preferred if we actually just saw the training first. Than him trying to fucking go back and tell us what he did. Because I don't feel like it hits the same with that. But yeah, with Kubera, it's just like, it's kind of vague if you want to say that's like reliant on flashback. But Kubera does have a lot of things where people have to go back in the past, or she has to recontextualize. And even AOT, I guess you could say in some degree, it's like we have to go back and see this from a different perspective. So it's just like, depending on the writer, of course, it could be really good. But I don't know if I would say it's something that I prefer in my writing. It just, like you said, case by case. Kind of depends on who does it.
Ain't Akame do that flashback shit?
Akame got killed?
Zodiac War is probably a good example. Jujuni Tyson.
Oh shit, yeah.
That's a really good example. Now I'm thinking about I literally looked at my bookshelf. But
I
looked at my bookshelf. That's up there. That it depends. Hold on. I forgot to finish reading. Depends on what you rely. If you mean that the only quality portion of the stories are flashbacks, I don't think any exist. That's interesting. But I would say that with One Piece, a lot of people's favorite parts have been a lot of the sad flashbacks. But I don't think that's the best parts of the story. It's interesting. Speaking of movies, I gotta watch Nobody. Give me a synopsis. Is Vince referring to the new JJK chapter or speaking in general? I think in general, but I haven't read the new JJK chapter. I know what happens. Black Clover.
Wait, he said the only quality parts of the story are flashback. No, I wouldn't say that.
No. I'm saying, he's saying if I mean the only.
Oh no, I don't think anybody means that. I just mean like, is it a technique that's heavily relied upon for either or? Like I said, some writers use it to get their emotional connection to the readers, and some people use it to shoehorn information. So it's just kind of like, it's a thing that's multifaceted. Like, how do you feel for either one of those things? Like, I don't think like try to like have one particular thing that you're looking at for this question, because like I said, the story we're reading, it starts from the end basically, or almost the end of the manga, and then the whole rest of the story is like a flashback of how we got there, or a retelling of how we got to those events between these characters.
I feel it. Black Clover, hey, so it turns out Asta was actually taught by this cool swordman prior to taking the Knight's exam. I don't remember shit about nothing about Only Valkyrie dress by Noel. Boss Jesse made a video on the hot chai guy, the ranker. I mean the ranker who stayed in the battlefield that trained Bam. I remember him. I think it's that guy. Bro, I just don't remember two times like that. I would argue like the essence of bravery. Actually, I really think that Karaka flashback with Hajin Sung is fucking awful. It just completely.
See, there's the one with Hajin Sung and Bam. There's the one with Hajin Sung
because
and Karaka.
Based on the perception of the narrative that it gave me, personally speaking, you could always argue that Hajin Sung definitely, to some degree, cared about Viole. I'll say Viole for now, but like. Did Bam ever give me any inclination that he gave a fuck about this guy or FUG? Absolutely not. So once I get that flashback with him fucking caressing his cheek and fixing his color, that to me is like, really? You thought you could shoehorn this in there and make me feel something? No, SIU, you're a hack. That's not it.
He actually freaking disliked Jinsung a lot because Jinsung was literally holding his friends hostage. He literally said that he's going to kill everybody if he fucking reveals his identity to them and shit. So that was most definitely fucking true. But yeah, that's what we're talking about. Just think the end of season 2 onwards. All of them flashbacks, not good.
Actually, so I get what Glam said. Yeah. So when he said rely, he said when I hear the word rely used in this for this context, the path I go down is essentially asking, does the author use flashbacks that are good in order to make up for lackluster storytelling within the present day? Okay, that's completely different. So I hear you on that.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was just trying to tell. I was trying to clarify.
Why did he get that flashback sooner in season 2, the Chronicle one? Then there it is. If you had to sell Kubera to someone, how would you break it down? Can I get back to you on that when I finish the 3rd season? Can I get the whole scope? That'll help me because honestly, there was a time where I couldn't describe to somebody what the fuck Monogatari was about. Really, I'd be like, okay, like there's like these things, like the apparitions, and then you know, like now I could all right, boom, bada bang, I know what to say. So let me think on that. But to me, the biggest selling point that I can always say about Kubera is I have not read a better written webtoon. Not one. So if you are a fan of good writing, having your patience rewarded, and seeing plot events from earlier come full circle and possibly become retextualized in a way that's brilliant, I would say give it a shot. But it's not. Yeah, it's not action oriented like that though. So if you're kind of like an action junkie, you kind of need some like, you know, fights and shit. It might take you a while. Cause trust me, there was a point where I felt like I was slogging a bit, but when it really hits its stride, it's just like a runaway train.
I'm glad that you and me basically feel the exact same way. Cause I basically say that to everybody too. The latter half of your statement, it's just like if you're a person that doesn't mind a manga. Or just a story starting slow, and your patience being rewarded. I think that's the best way to kind of describe it.
Yep. But all right. Any other things on that one? We can move on to the next one.
Yeah, we move on to the next one. I think that's good. We threw it out.
You said he talking right. A good webtoon impossible. Nah, it is. Kubera, I guess gonna read it eventually. No way, it's false or urban legend that never happened. I'm happy. I'm so happy you're reading Kubera. Yeah, you and Kako be on my ass. It was made up by a writer. We got you. Nah, it's good. I will personally put my neck on the line and vouch for it. I think it's that good.
Ouch.
Let me see your next question now. Okay, so how do you feel about an author writing a story, telling you that the characters... You separated story and telling. That was my fault. How do you feel about an author writing a story telling you that the characters in society are not good and corrupt? So...
Okay, so to clarify a little bit more, this is the story we're reading. Basically, like, it's interesting because sometimes when I hear people like write summaries or like explain this to me, the word edgy comes out a lot. And I mean, I really could have just phrased this like, what do you consider edgy? But I feel like we already talked about that at some point. I think that's a part of the conversation. But like, this is stories like this story, your Shamos and stuff like that. Like, the author is basically already telling you that like, this is not a good person. This is not good people. This is not a good place to be. And they're writing this story from that perspective. So how do y'all feel about stuff like that? It's like usually that stuff that happens too often. So how do you feel about stuff like that happens in storytelling? Is it good? Is it refreshing? Like, how do you feel about that?
Pure life, to answer your question, if I like Castlevania, if you're talking about them games, to quote Simi, them games, yeah, I'm a big fan. You're talking about that mid-ass Netflix series. I am so good on it. I'm joking. It's not that bad. It's fine, but it's not the worst adaptation I've seen. But it's not the game, so I don't care. But I love stories like that, and it bothers me that it's hard to tell a story like that in contemporary times because of how fucking soft and babyish we've gotten. where it's like, I feel like sometimes someone sees a character and they go, this character is horrible, they're abusive, trigger warning, this and that and the third. And it's like, at what point did it occur to you that perhaps the author has a character like this to be like, don't be like this nigga? Just, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's why I don't really care how a lot of people have always felt about. I knew South Park had something important to say because back in Canada, right? As you're like going through like their grading system, I think is it ninth grade? In ninth grade, we have a test called EQAO, where you test your English, your math, reading comprehension, and all kinds of things. And one of the questions that I got when I did my test, I blew it out the water, by the way. I was like the top percentile, but that's like the one subject I'm good at. It was speaking about a South Park episode that had to do with ginger kids, and how yes,
didn't
right?
have no songs,
Right? And we had to write about like like about it or whatever. Like, and I killed that section because I'm like, South Park is one of the best social commentaries we have. It's life has literally become a South Park episode. I live in a South Park episode now. It's not a joke anymore. It's real life. So like when I see, a Cartman. Cartman is a piece of shit. You don't want to be like Cartman. You see certain characters like Randy doing stuff like that. Like the show is showing you what kind of people you don't want to be like. What kind of society. How stupid we are with society and things like that nature. I think stories like this are important. But what happens in the modern era and right now is something like that will be like, it's bigoted, it's racist, it's this and it's that, and blah, blah, blah. And don't get me wrong, South Park is all of those things. But one thing about South Park is no one is safe. They don't care what you are. You getting it. No one is safe. They don't care if you're fat, black, gay, trans, religious, not. You getting roasted. It's equal in that sense. I do like stories like that, but I do think a lot of authors kind of dropped the ball with it, though. Like, I've never really read any narrative where I felt that, like, extreme sexual abuse was used for a good reason. I've yet to really encounter that. And I was speaking for a while. Someone else wanna chime in?
Yes, let me go ahead.
Yeah, we good. I like them. You see, the problem is, as Yeti said, this sissified era, to quote fucking Western wrestling fans, that we live in. They think that the second that you have a quote unquote problematic character, that you're endorsing that behavior for whatever reason, which is not the case at all. Just because you're writing a character that's bad doesn't mean that you endorse that sort of behavior. Endeavor discourse anybody. And it's honestly, I don't even know why or how we got to this point. It's very weird. Also, the word edgy has completely lost its meaning and and just everything. It's lost everything. So the second that there's any type of dark content at all, even just a little bit, it'll be classified as edgy, which is fucking weird. But yeah, man, not only social commentary, but dark shit and the evils of society and whatnot and all that other fun stuff. I don't have an issue with none of that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that type of storytelling either. But it's like we can't even talk about it. We can't publicly talk about these things as a narrative because the second it is there, it's promoting X, Y, and Z for whatever reason, I guess. It's tiring.
Yeah, it's weird to me. The reason I brought up the edgy comment.
And never antis, yeah, exactly. Sorry, go ahead.
It to me, I've kind of lost like the meaning of the word edgy. Like I almost don't even like use it anymore because just like if I'm reading,
dude.
yeah, and it's just like if I'm reading a story where the creator is meaning for it to be a darker story, he's trying to show the dark parts of society. So he's showing gore, he's showing intestines on the floor and shit like that. For me personally, I don't classify that as edgy. The whole story is built off that. Like now, if I'm reading a story that's mostly like light, or I'm reading a romance story, and for whatever reason they try to add some situation where the fucking girl starts walking and she gets next to a dark alley, and all of a sudden somebody's trying to rape her, that's edgy to me because that was unnecessary. That's probably not adding anything to the story. Like it's lazy. Yeah. But it's just like if you're trying to pay, especially because this manga is historical, it's talking about samurai, and it's showing you that like samurai, like we look at samurai, we kind of glorify samurai as like super cool stuff like that, but they really not good people. Or a lot of good people weren't samurai. The era of samurai wasn't good. You walking around with a sword, you chopping civilians up. A lot of bandits, a lot of criminals became samurai because it gave them the ability to do whatever they want. You know, just like that whole society surviving around them, and those ethics and those morals were not good.
Mm-hmm.
And then somebody will read it and be like, "This is edgy." Like, what do you mean? He's trying to tell you like that everything about this is fucked up.
Yeah.
And like he's doing it in a very grotesque way. It's not fun to read, but it's not edgy.
But
So,
some
yeah.
people aren't really good at getting uncomfortable. Let me try real quick. Villains don't always have to be sympathizing with or have a sad backstory. Right. Don't be like Crocodile. He's the goat, though. Yeah, Crocodile the goat. The Ginger Kids. Yep. That's simple. Look at that. Be praising going to who would have thought. Hey, what are the goat, man? Crocodile has no backstory, but he is goddamn amazing. Hey, his backstory, he ran from the New World, but he's still raw. We get shit on too much. That's the point. Don't need a backstory to be clean. That's why Boondocks wouldn't last. Oh, Boondocks? Boondocks? Yeah, that wouldn't work here because the point is you're supposed to be like most of the characters, like the logic behind the thought process. America's a South Park and Onion parody rolled into one. For villains, wait, I need the backstory to be clean for villains. Heroes, I think you do to some extent know their history. I would challenge an author to tell a story with a hero that I don't know anything about and see if they can do it. But I hear you. Sounds like Berserk. White women will tell me a black woman how to feel about it. Yeah, you know the meme, like I said, with Woody stopping Sora, and it's like a 14-year-old white girl on the internet, a black person. So yeah, how do you even address a problem without representing it in one way? Absolutely true. Absolutely true. It's just discourse has been lost because people just don't like to hear things that don't kind of align with what they're thinking, which is something we're gonna talk about later. It's all this is so perfect. This is all gonna be a great segue to that section. I can't wait. I swear I don't talk to them if they're so dumb and lack critical thinking skills. They can only sing a viewpoint and criticize other decision. Yep. 2D ones go. The modern societies become hypersensitive and desensitized at the same time. Absolutely. Samurai whack, 50% from the field. People glorifying violence. This is why Kenshin is a raw series. It shows most of these were blood. Yeah. Because sorry, Shinta, too soft for a swordsman. Like it's like, bro, I can use my name. Like, what's good for you? Kenshin was literally the manslayer. Like the dude ripped through like bodies and bodies upon bodies. And like you don't want to be that, and he didn't want to be that. He wanted to be a better person. But all of these people like almost can't put the sword down because a lot of people who live in like a era of violence like that, they don't really know what to do with peace sometimes. So, but yeah, ultimately though, like to circle back to the question, stories like that don't bother me. I kind of like stories like that, or have like a good lesson, like a big picture takeaway, like we spoke about An Ordinary not too long ago. Like, and I think An Ordinary ultimately has a good message like that. So yeah. Yes, sir. All right. Anything else on this?
We are good.
Yeah, we're good.
All right. Let me bring this up real quick. So when you guys are quote unquote judging a series, I don't care if it's a game, movie, show, book, manga, anime, what have you, whatever y'all into. Do you, when you're kind of rating it, or if you give, I don't really care, like if you're giving it a score, you're rating it, you're just thinking about how much you like it or whatever, is this based on quote unquote the writing and objective quality of the series, or literally your enjoyment, or is it a mixture of the two, or do you flip back and forth?
Who's going
You
first?
want me to go? Okay. I was say I didn't know what was going on. All right, so for me, it is definitely a flip flop of the two. Because sometimes for me though, it's just like, if depending on what it is, like sometimes about halfway through, unless the writer really does something to like blow my expectations, a lot of my mind's already been made up by the time we get to like the halfway point. I don't know. I feel like I kind of have like a foresight, and I'm just like, if I didn't see some inkling of like great potential or some type of plot point or writing point that's going, I feel like, I gotta wait to reserve my opinion. I already decided. Now that might not seem like a good thing, because some people are like, you're basically gonna play into confirmation bias at that point. I don't disagree with that necessarily, but for me, it's just like some writers they've already showed me their hand before we even finish. So I don't have no reason to believe that they go do better. In fact, I have more reason to believe it could get worse.
Yeah.
So for me, it's kind of a factor of both. Because if I enjoy it, though, I can excuse certain stuff as long as I feel like it doesn't betray the story itself. Because I feel like most people, if you're enjoying a series at a super high level, and I don't mean most of the time when I say enjoying the series, I don't mean like you're enjoying the writing. Because at least most people that eat or something like that, that's most of the time that's not what they're talking about.
Okay.
Some people do that, but a lot of people when they enjoy something, it's normally something with a lot of action or a lot of like moving parts. So if they're enjoying that, more likely than not, they're gonna overlook writing faults and stuff like that. Unless they're just, and even if they're egregious, I feel like people still overlook it because you're just willing to fucking Jedi mind trick yourself into believing that like at any point, I feel like as a person you can convince yourself if you want to.
Yeah.
You can Jedi mind trick yourself into anything. So at the end of the day, enjoyment is probably gonna.
Remember, I told you I can rationalize a lot of things for a lot of my series. I just don't do it because I don't like giving the author too much credit when they don't deserve it. I can rationalize just about anything. I could totally rationalize that Big Mom thing. I could do it. I can make it make sense for myself. I didn't want to. She was whack.
Yeah, I try to balance. I try not to overly criticize, and I try not to like give them too much of a pass either. So I feel like I do a pretty good job of balancing both for most series.
Yeah. Let me read the chat real quick and then send me. You go ahead and answer. Let me read the chat though. Pull this up. Let me see. Video games. I rank by enjoyment. I rank anime objectively. I don't even know. My anime list is based on my personal enjoyment. I hear it. Subjectivity out. Yep. Solely off my. Okay. A bit of both. It can be well written, but if I don't enjoy it, it's whatever to me. Enjoyment matters to me the most on the first read through. However, writing is still important to me. Upon the reread, writing takes precedence for me. I want to dissect this shit and see if I still like it. I can respect that too. Just shut up, Clam. Enjoyment. The writing is important, but if I'm reading about something and I get like a shit-eating grin, I'm gonna love whatever the hell I'm consuming. Enjoying it matters. I don't care about writing flaws so much. I hear you. I'll go next. Now that you go last, Simi. I don't think I have too much to say on this. Enjoyment. Go ahead.
All right.
I'll kind of just go through my. Now at this point, yeah, enjoyment, because I think I fell prey to the idea that bias and subjectivity decreased the validity of my arguments. I went through that phase. I'm at the point now that I completely understand it's not the case. And if you want to personalize something towards your experience to explain it, there's nothing wrong with that. I saw a Death Stranding review that I thought was so interesting because the dude who was reviewing it, I just don't remember his name at all because I don't follow it. I just kind of found it on accident. He personalized his experience with the game because he learned to become more open and social by literally biking around like America by himself. Like he just kind of like took whatever money he had, some water, and he left. And you know how Thing spends most of his game alone on his Amazon delivery service type beat, right? Mm-hmm. Is it because he's personalizing that story to his experiences? Does that make what he's saying any less credible? No, I don't believe that at all. But there was a long time where I believed if you weren't just spouting out facts, statistics, logic, and reason, and nothing else, your argument wasn't as solid. But I've grown far past that. So I could just be like, I like JoJo because it's fun, and it could be like, there's a plot hole here, and I could be like, it's still my favorite. Like I don't care. Nothing you say is going to change my mind on that. I don't care. You don't have to like it. I'm talking about me. So I'm at that point. But yeah, you guys hear me talk about writing conventions and things all the time. Obviously, I think critically, and I like to analyze and deconstruct when I'm reading. But at the point now, my critical analysis and deconstruction is more so for me like just being like a nerd about it. I don't really care if it's good or bad sometimes. I just like to break shit down, but I don't let me like being like, hey, this is not the best written series, but man, it's animated well. I like the voice acting. The music is good. Like I could look at other things. Like the writing isn't the end all be all. The artwork isn't the end all be all. So I like to look at all the moving parts. Like I could play a game with terrible writing, but for a video game, I don't. The story could be the worst thing ever. But if the gameplay hits, I'm having a good time. I don't care about the plot of a video game. So a lot of it's dependent. I'm babbling. Go ahead, Simi. Unleash.
Yeah, it's 101% enjoyment, man. And nothing else fucking matters. I don't care how good that this writing is. I don't care how realistic it is. I don't care about this, that, and the third. That shit boring to me, then it's not raw. Simple as that. I mean, we've had this conversation numerous times, and I'm gonna keep repeating myself as many times that we have this conversation. The entire point of all of this shit is entertainment. However, everybody's different. Everybody's entertained in different ways. That's why there is absolutely no such thing as more objectivity on opinions when it comes to fucking entertainment, because we're all entertained different ways. There is no factual way to entertain somebody, period. It doesn't matter who the fuck you are. All right, so I don't like, and that's the exact reason why I don't care for Full Metal Alchemist at all, because that shit does not entertain me, not one bit, not a single bit of it. And even with Bones shaking their ass, even with Bones tooting their ass high up in the air with that fucking animation, I still don't care, and that's all there is to it. So it's like, yeah, it's 101% it's 101% entertainment for everything.
Yeah.
Like, man, Inversion is a blatant Gears of War clone. I mean, every single thing about it. And that game fucking raw. Playing as some bum ass generic white man named, what his name? Davis? I think it was Davis. And I got a Latino partner, and you know, these things that look like, I completely forgot the niggas from Gears of War. I know they use a slang term to call them grubs, but I forgot their actual name. But they completely look like the grubs from Gears of War. They invade fucking Earth, and you know, the whole gameplay is stick to cover and shit. Exactly what fucking Gears of War popularized 2 generations ago. Like, they didn't even try to hide that this shit was a Gears clone, and that shit's still raw because the shit was just so fucking silly, and I had an absolute blast playing it. The ending was ridiculous. The twist in the middle of the game was ridiculous, and that shit was fucking raw. And I'm like, yeah, so I don't care how much y'all think that, you know, XYZ writing is good and all that other shit. If it doesn't personally entertain me, then it's whack.
I think we should. Could we talk about this a lot? I feel like we should like rephrase the question or try to look at it from a different perspective. So I rather think I should ask this. I guess because at the end of the day, for you, does good writing matter?
No, absolutely not. It still doesn't, bro. Doom is the greatest game of all fucking time, and that shit literally has no story. It literally dropped you in the first level and you're shooting demons. And that game has stood the test of time for how fucking long. So it's like, bro, I'm not hearing nothing out of nobody's mouth about no fucking story, nothing. Now, of course, that's a plus and whatnot. But at the end of the day, it's all about entertainment. That's why we looking at all of this shit to be entertained. If I'm not being entertained, then what the fuck am I doing here? You know, like, you know, I could rant and rave about how good Umineko's storytelling is, but at the end of the day, that game entertained me. Period. From the fucking opening bell, you know, I'm entertained. I'm scared. I'm hype. I'm laughing. You know, I'm being entertained. You know, the how well Ryukichi's storytelling is adds to that as a plus. But at the end of the day, the characters are entertaining me. The setting is entertaining me. The premise is entertaining me. So on and so forth. Simple as that. I literally read a manga that had little to no story at all. It was like 90 chapters of like 8 through 12 pages per chapter. I read that whole thing, and I thought that shit was fire. Just about some nigga he fighting some nigga he live in some backwater village and like some waifu vampire bitch come through and these niggas like slaughter his village and he want revenge. That shit was raw. The art was cool. The ecchi was cool. I don't care about nothing else, man. So it's like
I think it matters on the medium for me because it's just like gaming. I'm not gonna lie, I don't give a shit. Some of my favorite games either convoluted, don't have no fucking really story based anything, or just fucking it's just not good at writing. But I don't give a shit because it was fun. When it comes to actual shit that's supposed to have some merit of the writing, well, obviously then it matters a lot more. Or like even when we reading fucking smut or something, the writing don't really matter that much as long as it's not egregiously terrible. It's just like, but even then, sometimes I still be enjoying it because it made me laugh. I was like, this is so bad, it's actually good because it's fun.
I mean, listen, man. As I said, I said what I had to say. It's entertainment across the board. I don't care what I'm looking at. Like I said, the story could you could spew about how good XYZ writing is. I don't care. If the shit is not entertaining me, I don't care. I don't care what it is. A book, a novel, a VN, anime, manga. I don't care, man. If it's not entertaining me, I'm not looking at it.
That much I agree with for certain, but Vince is right, and because remember I was saying at one point if Kubera was just a novel, a lot of the stuff in the first part would have been perfectly fine with me and okay with me. Like, yeah, I probably do judge mediums differently a little bit, but at the end of the day, like Sammy is saying, I gotta be having a good time. Like, one thing that I've always tried to do on the channel is, I always encourage you guys to think critically and not just absorb things, and move on, but please don't forget to have fun. Like, I feel like arguments have become, well, even if, like, this manga discourse is like, how can I slam dunk on this guy? Like, he like Jujutsu Kaisen, I like Yaiba. Yo, how can I slam dunk on him? Like, what? Like, why can't you just have a nice, good conversation where you both walk away having learned something? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I'm talking about. Let me chat real quick. Like, what is it? I don't know if it's Jiger or Jukur. I don't know if I said that right, but I like what you said. Like, I don't care about objectivity or good writing the series has. It has to be enjoyable. I don't care what philosophy or message the series has if I can't give a damn about it because how boring it is. All their writing falls flat for me. I feel that. Where like I could be presented with something where I'm like, I actually think the execution of this is good, but if I don't care about it, it's not going to hit for me. So I agree with that. I don't think a person's personal attachment lessens the ability to rank the series high, but I don't like ranking my things based off it. But I like hearing my people attach a certain things because that's how I am with games. Fair enough. I like the series in my brain because I enjoy doing it, and any series that makes me do that is just great to me. Gameplay is going to be heavily tied to how you feel while you play. Send me spitting. I can analyze without my grandma reading it to me. So why is he like this? Why is he acting like this?
Well, here's
so
my
we don't
thing,
have to all
right?
be English majors? Apparently not. We don't.
I feel like in some case, right, we're talking about enjoyment, but
I didn't get to all the people.
I feel like you can manufacture enjoyment, like in a sort of sense, because like, yeah, enjoyment matters at the end of the day, but I just like there are ways that maybe like let's say like cause I seen this shit happen with fucking all sorts of manga. I feel like the reason that people rate it so highly is because they read it with other people, or because they fucking ran agendas on it, or this, that, and the other. Because if they were just reading it by themselves, sitting in a room or some shit like that, they wouldn't feel the same way. So I'm not disregarding that like enjoyment is the ultimate factor, but you can manufacture that shit. I've seen it done with fucking QQ and all sorts of other manga, Chainsaw Man, all that shit. Part of the reason why people I think enjoy that shit so much, they manufactured that shit. They got fucking fan art, niggas read enjoy because just like if you were just reading that based on what the writer put on the paper, you feel completely differently than if you didn't do all this other stuff that help make it fun. So it's just like I feel like at the end of the day, if you really wanted to, you can make almost anything enjoyable in a lot of ways.
I hear you. I can do that for myself, but let me just get through the comments. I wasn't done. So hold on.
Oh, okay.
Story don't matter in games, but you can but can you apply that to manga? Yeah, I can, because the narrative is not the most important thing to me when I'm experiencing a story. It's the characters. You could have a bad story, but if I love one character, I can get my way through and have a good time. So that's kind of how I am. I think the importance of writing fluctuates based on what medium you're consuming. Yes, because like I said, how many times have I used the example? If I press start and the video game starts with I gotta find my sister and the game just start, I don't need a goddamn thing else. Let me play the game uninterrupted. I don't care about your story in the video game. Like you said, I'm a meathead video games. I skip all the cutscenes and dialogue. Okay, I don't do that. I'll skip the dialogue and cutscenes, but I don't really need it. That's for Hollow Knight. Yeah, oh, you Hollow Knight. Let's go. Silk Song coming. Yes, sir. We in there. I need a narrative from Kuma story. I've grown past it. I used to be that way though. Yeah, it matters on what you want out of the series. I think. Yep, that's why Fairy Tail is greater than sign. Yes, sir. The go. For real, even my Smutwa has a story. I'm not reading something with no story. Smutwa can really take me out of a story if it's that bonkers. I'll give you that. Like, my immersion could get ruined quickly. I'm like, okay, is this some Korean shit or something? Like, I don't know. This would happen in real life, and I'll get out of there. So I feel you. Go to your room. Twitter argument fast with stop enjoying things. I like Bleach because I like the character design, supernatural fighting. I don't care what they're writing. I just want to see Bankai, and there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. You say this and then drag Takashi on Twitter. Takashi's not a good writer. He's overrated. He's a hack. He's a hack. He's a fraud. Hello, is this thing on? I'm joking. That's for narrative-centric mediums, though. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, there's a lot of comments. I'm tired now. Speaking of when I was manufacturing Yu Hakusho, oof. How do you manufacture enjoyment? He basically just met all the little gimmicks and distractions you can do, like letting the community run with it, fan art, things blow up because sometimes, not because the thing is good, because somebody like cosplayed it really well, and that can kind of garner some intrigue. Or maybe like something is not really well known, but Twitch streamers, popular guy XY2, he watched it, and now now people care about it. So things like that happen. But yeah, Mr. Lizardo.
Hello.
How you doing, brother?
I'm good.
Do you want to chime in on the topic?
The enjoyment thing?
Yeah, like if you're rating something, you rate it on enjoyment or the objective quality of the series.
Well, I'm not keeping it a buck. I do enjoyment because, I'm not... like, I can, so I'm not going to act like I'm a neep, okay? I'm not going to be able to break down the story and be able to tell you all this shit, like the foreshadowing or, how well it did that shit. I'm not going to be able to do that. So, I just do enjoyment, and I just think, that shit's enjoyable. It's good to me. If it's not enjoyable, it's not good to me. That's it.
When am I having my own power scaling debate like Jay? Hey, someone time him out. Can he be tied up? Because he's a mod. He has a sword. Damn it. He might be too powerful. But as far as people who base enjoyment on reactions or what's being fed to TL, I'm gonna keep it a buck. If this weak-willed, I don't understand the idea. Y'all liking shit ain't gonna change me from liking it and vice versa. Y'all nerd losing on the culture. Yeah, that's a fact. That's an absolute fact. Power scaling make my head hurt. Oh man, listen. I'm out the game. I gave it up a long time ago. But yeah, enjoyment is the most important thing for me. But yeah, don't get it twisted. Like literally, this is what I did in school. Like, and the things and the subjects that I excelled at in school it wasn't like math I was bad at. I actually wasn't even good at geography. I can't say I was bad at history. I just didn't care at the time. I care now. I wish I cared back then. But like, English and philosophy, writer's craft, mystery class, media study, film class. Those are the things that I truly, truly excelled in, and that's when I went into journalism and English and post-secondary and stuff. So, like, I'm always very comfortable talking about writing, narratives, and stories. I've even shadowed, I've shadowed some of my friends who, like, graphic design and actually animate, so I've seen them in the field making a movie. There's a movie on Netflix called, I think it's called Next Gen or Gen something. It's like a girl with, purplish hair and like a robot, and one of my friends he worked on the movie, and that's how I got to really see like the ins and outs. So like I'm usually when I speak about these things, I kind of actually like took the time to research it, follow it, and this is what I did in school, so like I'm comfortable talking about it. But one thing about me is I don't really like to blab my mouth if I don't know something. So if we're talking about now math and there's a mathematician in the fucking chat or in the call, I'm not gonna pretend I'm a know-it-all. Like, you're a mathematician, that doesn't mean I'm gonna just listen to everything you say, but I'm gonna defer to you. You're the expert, you know what I'm saying? So even as a person who really cares about writing and stuff like that, I don't overdo it anymore. I learned to just sometimes, There's no one size fits all. What were you trying to accomplish? I think you accomplished this. It's a good story. I liked it. So yeah. We good? Next gen. Okay, that's what it's called. Yeah. Let me get Jay to shit on your timer for you. Get me out of there. Do you have anything else I want to say? I think there was one more, and then we could get to the story and shit. Find it. Oh, okay. So the tweet about I think more writers should talk about how writing and storytelling are two different skills appreciated by two different types of people, and while they need each other to thrive, they are not actually the same skill. So basically, I'm saying let's talk about that. I'm not gonna say if you had to pick which one is more important or whatever. Actually, I'll ask you if you have a preference or not. But do you agree with that? Because I feel like I've been saying that for a long time.
Yeah.
Because I always say like I use a comedian, as a thing where it's like, let's just say for whatever reason this joke is quote unquote objectively funny. Like if you could tell it right, people will laugh. But if you can't story tell, no one's gonna laugh at the joke. Do you pause? Do you do right inflections? Do you kind of if you're on stage, do you like have good facial expressions? Like that all will tie into telling the joke. You know what I'm saying? So I actually always agreed that the writing itself, the text, the dialogue, and the pacing and stuff is one thing, but like the presentation of the story, presentation of the story, how you tell it and stuff, like you could really separate it. But I do think that the skills intertwine. You need both for it to truly work together. But I've always been more interested in how you tell a story, more sort of than like the writing itself. Because I've read so many stories that are just like up its own ass, mad pompous, mad flowery, condescending language, like. The entire sentence itself, you use the most complicated version of each word when you could have just used house, but you chose the most complicated version for house to seem smarter. That never works on me. So if you keep your shit more casual, not really formal and stuff, that's fine. I read tons of stories where the characters are talking like how we speak. They're using slang and things of that nature, and I don't think that makes it a poorly written series if the story is told well. But I'll stop there for now. Come back with my second lap later. What y'all think, though?
Yeah, there's absolutely a huge difference between freaking writing and storytelling. I would actually argue that Fate and My Hero tell a very similar story about heroism, yet they're literally fucking night and day. Right? Shiro wanted to be a hero because he grew up idolizing his father, who he in his mind was the biggest hero in his life. Deku grew up wanting to be a hero, idolizing Japan's #1 hero and whatnot, right? And we both follow their journey with this idea of heroism, but they're both, the way it's presented to you and the way it's told to you is completely different from each other. So absolutely, there is a big difference between the two, and I don't even know what to say about preference between the two. I mean, I don't believe I'm nowhere near as harsh as you, because I could enjoy some shit that's like really fucking simple and told like kind of badly, and then vice versa, but I do agree with the trap of, because we see it fucking every goddamn day on Twitter, of just using big ass words to make yourself seem like you smart and you have a lot of knowledge, all that fucking word soup bullshit and whatnot. But I really feel like this topic, even the way that the question was presented, like it might seem a little complex, but I don't really think it's complex at all. You could tell you could have the same exact theme or like same exact premise and it be told completely different. Shit.
Precisely.
Danganronpa and Zero Escape, anybody? But
I would say like Danganronpa and Low, they completely tackled the despair versus hope theme differently. So, yeah. Sorry, keep going.
No, there's a difference. There's a huge difference, and even if you didn't necessarily know that, I feel like everybody who's been on a journey through literature, shit, even if just only through the shit that you was forced to read in school, you've experienced it. Just might not know of it. You might not have known that's what you was experiencing. But yeah, I believe all of us as fucking literature readers or being forced to read literature in any shape, form that comes in has experienced that. I don't think this is something freaking complicated or like mind blowing either.
Yeah. I think it was. I think for some people, it's hard to separate the two because I don't think they see it as different. It's different because I think they just think the writing is the writing, right? So as long as there's any type of words there, but it's like no, people have different styles of telling a story, right? Some authors or some content creators, creative teams are not. They're very not wordy. Like there's like you have to pick up context clues from like let's say the artwork. People tell stories differently. So yeah, wait. Did you want to chime in, Vince and or Lizard?
I think Vince is on mute, so.
Yeah, definitely.
Nope,
On
you
mute.
can go. I'm here.
Well, he was on
You can
definitely.
go.
I thought he was gone. But yeah, I agree with that. I agree with this. I was thinking more in like, in terms of music, it's like being able to like, play the right chords or something is kind of like writing or like, learning that. But just because you don't know how to play the right chords doesn't mean doesn't mean the song you'll write or like you play will be better than somebody else's that doesn't. Something like that. But yeah. I agree. I do agree though. But yeah.
I'm kind of glad you said that because I've always kind of seen storytelling in music in a similar vein. So I like that you said that because you could be an incredible lyricist, killing them, drilling them with cinnamon, rippity rap, right? But then someone might have their lyrics and choruses like it's not as complex, if you will,
or deep,
but the beat go hard and they writing that shit and we
and
bumping
they
it,
flow better.
yeah.
And
So
they flow better. They like rap better. So yeah.
Yeah.
It's just I completely get that.
go
But
ahead,
yeah.
Vince. Mr. Benitez.
I'm here.
Go ahead.
I'm here.
It's your
Repeat the
turn.
question. I'm sorry. I was finishing up this PowerPoint.
What is the question?
Yeah. See.
We're talking about storytelling versus writing. Do you agree with the idea?
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Like, do you agree that they're both different writing skills and stuff and everything? Blah blah blah, yada yada.
Yeah, because I think that I think it kind of connects to the other question we just asked because it's like, yeah, he write good.
Mhm.
Like you can look at something and be like, oh, they write good, but it's boring. But it takes a talent to write something and write it in a way that like it may be a style that you didn't prefer, but they made it good because they're such a good storyteller.
Yep.
Like for me, like Zatch Bell got me like really attached to the characters in a short amount of time. But most times, if you had that style of trying to like make me connect to the characters in a short amount of time, that don't really work. But for me, I think he's a good storyteller in a way that he was able to connect me to the characters so quickly, even if they weren't necessarily having like themes or types of or doing types of things that I would or personality archetypes that I would normally connect to.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a skill that you have to have because you could write something and it could be something I like, but if you don't do it in a way that's entertaining or I could look at and be like, oh, okay, that was like really good, then it doesn't matter. And all of that is like y'all were saying, like a presentation, like it could be like the way the choice of words that you use for your characters, because you could have two characters saying the exact same thing, but the words, the dialogues matter. If you make them say it in like a raw way, or like one character curses a lot, or one character doesn't curse, or there's different ways you can present it that can make it sound better depending on the person. So things like that matter, and sometimes that's the difference between like Western storytelling and some of the Asian storytelling too. It's just like the way that they go about things. They could be saying the exact same thing, but they say it different.
Yeah.
So